Today I'm going to share with you my story and how I sold everything I owned to move into a classy motorhome. Hi everyone, it's Deb with Deb's RV Services, and I am creating a new Thursday video that I'm going to put out that is going to be titled Deb's Corner. This is going to feature more information about me personally, about how I ended up in different things, like how I ended up in a classy motorhome. I'm going to talk about more personal things, where I go and some of the adventures I go on. It's not really going to be a travel video each week. It's going to be different topics, but it's going to be more personal. It's still going to be related to RV life, travel life, single woman life, over 50, blah, blah, blah. But it doesn't have to be specific to RV inspections and RV tech work. So I wanted to do this for a long time. I thought about it because I always loved listening to other people's stories on how they get on the road, what they do to prepare, how they felt brave enough to do it, how they travel across the country. There's just so many tips I can give, and it's just so many things. I have a lot of life experience. I was a physical therapy assistant prior to this career. I'm still a physical therapy assistant, and I can work in other states if I want to. I've been I've had a lot of different jobs in my life, so there's a lot of different experiences I can draw on to help other people. So I wanted to create this, and if it does well, I will continue. If it doesn't seem to do well with my current audience, I may create a different YouTube channel titled Deb's Corner, that I will just start doing all of my own personal stuff on, and then leave my business as the business with the inspections. But anyway, let's get into today's video. So my story started when I got the urge to travel when it was about 2016. It was 2016, let's go back a little bit further. In 2014, I started really watching YouTube videos, and I couldn't get enough of YouTube. I started watching backpackers that used to hammock overnight, and I became obsessed with that, and I really wanted to just hike and overnight and do this backpacking adventure. I thought it was really cool to just get out into nature. I've always been a nature person. I've always loved the woods, the earth. I'm just really an outdoorsy kind of person, and so I wanted to do things that gave me the ability to go out there and hike and explore and smell the fresh air. Now, the issue I had was I was still in the midst of raising my son. I owned a house in Michigan, and I was a single mother, so I owned 2 homes during the time that I raised Elijah, who's my son. And we lived in a town called Berkeley, and he was going through school, so I really couldn't leave and do anything, but I did go camping. I've been camping since I was a kid, so camping for me was just second nature. I loved it. I loved hiking when I was little, and I even moved to Colorado when I was in my 20s. I loved being there. I loved the mountains and everything, so I knew I needed to go back west. So anyway, I started to dream about doing these things, and I started watching these YouTube videos. And then in about 2017, I was going through a rough patch with a breakup. And the relationship wasn't doing well, so I started, thinking about doing these other things with my life. And my mom sent me a video that was a Bob Wells video, and I think a lot of you may know Cheap RV Living. That channel is really the start of all the channels, I believe. I mean, that's who I first started watching. But Bob Wells' channel took off, and I started watching the videos of all the people that were solo, especially the women that were solo on the road, and how did they do it? Where did they make their money? Were they afraid? Where did they go? I was fascinated. I could not stop watching videos. So my mom laughs to this day that she started this process. So anyway, as time went on, I continued to watch the videos, and I continued to raise my son and do all the things. But every day I came home from work, I worked long days, and I'd come home and I'd cook my dinner, and I did whatever I needed to do with my son because he was in school activities. But if he was off on his own, I was planted in front of the TV, and that was basically my life. So then 2020 hit. We all know that 2020 was a time that was very weird for all of us, but it also branched opportunities. I had been thinking about how I would go and start this life, but I didn't know how I would do it. And when 2020 hit, my job basically kind of diminished. I did home care. We weren't allowed in people's homes, and when we did, it was very few. I wasn't getting the work. There were these government programs, and frankly, I wasn't excited about it because I had been through the 2008 scenario, and that didn't go well for me either. So this was just, to me, this was just another beginning to a bad situation. When you own a house, you don't really own it. You're paying every month to keep it. And the minute you can't pay it, they will take it. Now, they offered these things, but it was money that was going to be put on to the end of my loan, which I thought, oh my gosh, I'm never going to get out of this. So anyway, again, I was in this relationship and it ended, and it was right around 2020 that it was the final finale. It was over. But the problem is that he lived next door, and that's a whole other story, and I'm not going to get into all that, but that was really difficult for me to deal with. And I just felt really pushed and moved to get out. My son was able to move out with a friend of his, and they got an apartment together because he wasn't going to college. I mean, after everything happened with COVID and then they decided to have online schooling, it really didn't resonate with him to do online schooling. He couldn't pay attention, he couldn't focus on it. So he said, you know what, I'm not gonna do that. And I said, okay, well then get a job. And he did. So he got a job, and then he moved out and got his own apartment. I sold the house, and I moved in with somebody else for the time being. So what I did was I think it was around 2021, that's when I sold the house, and I ended up going to school in Athens to become an RV inspector. It's really interesting because a lot of times we don't know how things are going to happen, and we feel like we're in these really complicated situations, but we're just opening one door and closing another and opening another. Life moves. If you have an intention, you set it, and then it opens for you. And that's what happened to me. Things opened, and I just went. I stopped thinking so much with my mind on what if this, what if that, and those scary thoughts that I was having. And I just said, do it anyway, Debbie, do it anyway. And I went and I did it anyway. There were bumps in the road, and that is going to happen. But don't be afraid to take those steps. I live an amazing life now. It is not all roses. And I will share with you some of the things that I've gone through on my journey being out here as a single female. Now, I am lucky in the fact that I had this RV tech experience, and I've gone to the school so that I can learn how to fix my own motorhome and travel trailer, whatever I have. I also do inspections so I can work from the road. You have to figure out what you want to do to make money, and there's lots of different jobs out there. Some people have the skills already that they can turn into something that they can do, while they're driving, on the road. And a lot of people work on computers and do that kind of thing. Some people become content creators. I decided to do both. I really have thought about being a content creator for a lot of years. And I just thought, well, what would I even create? What kind of content? Would I talk about physical therapy? And when I was back doing that, I don't know if that would go over well. What about this? What about that? What if I just talked about life? I mean, I just had all these ideas. And then when I went and got my certifications and started doing something, I thought, oh, there's a niche and I can market myself for my business. It has really paid off because people watch my videos and they contact me and they tell me that they hired me because they saw me on video. They got to know my personality and they got to see my work. That's a really great way for me to showcase and market myself. And so then getting this experience on YouTube has made me less afraid to talk in front of my camera to the green dot on the phone. And I really am becoming more and more passionate about it, and I'm really liking it. I watch a lot of videos on how to become a better YouTuber, but anyway, that's another story and that's another video for me to talk about. But I wanted to give you the kind of the layout on how I got started in this life. The reason I got my Class C motorhome was I had 2 prior travel trailers, and I wanted something that I could drive, and that way when I pulled over and stopped, I could just get from behind the wheel and go to the back. and make a sandwich or whatever. Well, I went to RV inspection school and I met a great couple, and they're great friends of mine to this day, and they owned the Lazy Days, and I inspected it for my inspection. After that, and I told them how much I loved Lazy Days motorhomes, they told me that I would be first on their list to sell it to when they decided to sell it. Well, it was only a few months later that they called me and said, you know what, we think we're ready to sell it if you're interested in buying. And I said, yes. And I just flew down there and picked her up, and she was mine, and she's been mine ever since. I love the Lazy Days. I knew they took really good care of it. I had already inspected it, and so I've had it ever since. And so what I do is I travel where I get work. So I'm not really just moseying around the whole country all the time. I stay in the West mostly, but I do like to go back to Michigan to see my family. And I did make my residence in Arizona, which is another conversation, which we could have another video talking about residency and how you go about that and what the best states are. I think there's tons of videos out there on that. But anyway, I wanted to give you that background. I just wanted to give you my story. I was interested in listening to other people's stories. That's all I ever wanted to hear, is how they did it and how they made money on the road. And so I've given you that. That's kind of how I did it. Life unfolded for me. I put my intention out there and it opened up. And I have just been flowing ever since. And that's kind of what you have to do. Just get that intention. If you are in the middle of raising your children and you can't do it yet, just hold tight. It will happen. And if you're at an age where you're retired and you're thinking, I don't know if I should do this, am I too old? Nope, you're not. I travel with a retired woman, and this is her life. She lives in her motorhome, she's retired, and she is happy as a clam. She loves it, and you can do that too. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Please let me know in the comments. If you are a current subscriber of mine and you normally watch my videos, do you like that I'm adding Deb's Corner? Do you want me to continue to do this? I'm gonna do it for a little while and see how the analytics look. Let me know if this is okay with you, or if you just want me to stick to my content on RV inspections and tech work and create a separate channel. I'd really like your feedback, because I have a lot of things in mind on what I want to create, and I don't mind starting a separate channel, but I thought, well, maybe the people I already have will be interested in something like this. So thank you, and I will see you on the next video.